All right, we are excited you are tuning in today. We have two very important topics this time of the year. The holidays is when everyone, or most people, struggle with their fitness and their health and their finances. So, my good friend Pete Ivani and I decided to come together as the two experts in the respective fields, I'm sure, to give you insights and tricks up our sleeves that we've used with ourselves and that we use with our clients to help us to manage this season a little bit better. And Pete, do you want to do the honors of sharing this story and how this whole podcast came into fruition? I mean, because it wasn't long ago, but it felt like a natural fit and we're like, you know what, we got to run with it. So I'll let you do the honors of sharing like how this whole idea was birthed.
Yeah, so we were at a birthday party for a good friend of ours, and we were just talking about what we do with our clients, how we do it, what we're going through this time of year. And I think we just discovered how similar, even though two completely different fields, right? Finance and nutrition, just how similar what we do, what our approach is. And I don't remember which one of us had the harebrained idea of collaborating and doing something like this, but it really seems to work, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And the cool thing about us coming together and doing this is even though you are the financial expert and I'm the health expert, we both understand one another's fields. I would
Mhm.
say you have a little bit more of an inside knowledge on the health field than I do in the financial field, but I have a passion for finances and I don't call myself cheap. I call myself careful with my money. I'll spend on people, I'll spend on things that are important to me, but I will Amazon subscribe and save all day. I will fly Spirit all day. I won't check bags all day. Like I'll do all those things because I appreciate the investment opportunity that otherwise like throwing away that money can cost you. So it's a natural fit, I think, for us to come together and do this.
And I call it prioritizing expenses no differently than those who maybe forego certain calories on certain things in favor of other calories on other things, right?
Right, like the people that go through the McDonald's drive-through and order the Frosty but get the Diet Coke, right? Like that's
Prioritization.
prioritization. Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's good that can come out of these prioritization techniques. So, without further ado, why don't we kick this thing off and you have some great insights to share first as it relates to the financial things, like some ways that we can survive this season with a little bit more cash in our pocket, or these days that analogy doesn't work, right? A little bit more zeros at the end of our credit card statements. Maybe you won't have us that much, but but take it away, and then I'll share some tips after you're done.
Yeah, for sure. So compliance would be grumpy with me if I didn't at least show this slide for a second or so. But look, the fact of the matter is that I work with individuals and families of all net worths and all ages, and they all have one thing in common, no matter their age or their net worth or whatever their financial priorities are. They stress around the holidays. And the number of conversations I've had in the last few weeks about who they're going to be meeting and whether they're in the physical, mental, or financial headspace to deal with the holidays. Some people stress out over the outfits that they have to wear. And then the gift giving, right? Everyone gets so stressed out about the gift giving. What are they going to get? How much do they spend? And look, Lindsey, we both know that no matter what the source of stress is, it can impact not only someone's financial health, but also their physical health, right? So it impacts their sleep. It impacts whether they're eating or consuming alcohol in different ways in their normal habits. And it's so easy during the party season to just let their workouts get off track, right? And I see it from a financial perspective because their spending gets out of whack. And no matter what their plan is, that maybe they're ordering food on DoorDash a little bit more, or maybe they're buying some more things. They go out to buy something for a significant other and they wind up coming home with something for themselves. And so as a certified financial planner, when it comes to my clients' finances, I try to focus on their plan and get them to focus on their plan and let the math guide the way for their investment strategy that is in their best interest. And, just like with physical fitness, when it comes to financial success, it's a process, right? We consider financial wellness to have five components. First, set a solid foundation on your finances. Identify ways to save more, whether it's subscribe and save, whether it's avoiding checking a bag, whatever it is for you, Identify ways to save because no one has ever complained about having too much money. Build your assets to achieve the highest targets you have set with your goals. And if it applies to you, plan for paying down debt in a way that is most effective and efficient for you in achieving all of your long-term goals, but also allows you to address your current financial needs and the life as it evolves. I have found in my practice that when people have a plan and they know what to expect and what they're going to do and when there is going to be a change, it helps to eliminate a significant amount of the stress from their daily routine, which may ultimately help them thrive in all areas of their lives, right? So if they're not stressed out about their money, then maybe they're not door dashing every meal. Maybe they're not, going out every day for a happy hour. Maybe they are sticking to that workout routine, which helps them, and you'll be able to talk a little bit more about this, helps them stay a little bit more focused through the day. Maybe their brain is a little bit clearer. Maybe their sugar levels through the day are a little bit more consistent. So, in today's discussion, we're going to focus on a lot of the financial pressures of the holiday season and the impact that it can have on your financial wellness, as we've just been discussing. It can have a potentially a very significant impact on other areas of your life. And what I have found with many of my clients is that some of these ideas help them and hopefully will help those listening survive this holiday season, at least from a financial perspective. So let's get started. I don't know about you, Lindsey, but it feels like this year the holiday season started right around Halloween. I feel like for weeks now there's been Halloween parties, eat the kids' candies parties, Friendsgiving parties, more Friendsgiving parties, Friendsgiving leftovers planned for next week in the office. I already have my first Friends leftovers Friendsgiving party next week.
Wow, I've never heard that one before.
I know, right? And it's the same week that I'm going to be attending my first Christmas party of 2024. So if I make it through next week without consuming 10,000 calories a day, I think it will be a miracle.
Yeah, try to
And I
shoot
know,
for
go
7,000.
ahead. What were you going to say?
I said just shoot for 7,000, not 10,000.
There we go. And for those focused on a wardrobe, I'd like to acknowledge the effort that everyone makes on their outfit. I know I don't focus on that. I just want to be able to fit in the pants by the end of the week. But for those who do, what a significant effort and to look different at every party. And it makes such an impact for those around us. But I know that from a financial perspective, it can really be stressful. I know that there are individuals that are looking at different ways to either borrow outfits or rent outfits because they want to stand out, but it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, over the last few days, catching up with friends and clients, I've heard about their travel plans this past weekend, how significantly more expensive it was than they expected. Whether it was just the airline ticket, whether it was the size of their bag and checked luggage, whether it was the Uber ride to and from the airport, or maybe it was tanks of gas or the incidentals, right? You get to the airport, your flight is delayed, you go to a restaurant, whatever it is, I know that they were already anticipating more money going on the plastic than actually were prepared for. And so we'll see how it goes when they get back and how that impacts the stress around holiday season.
Absolutely.
So I saw one neighbor last week in a common area in my building, and he said to me, we were talking about the stress around this, and he said, you only live once, man. I'll deal with all of this in January. And I know that for those listening, they're thinking one of two things, and they probably fit into one of these two camps. Yep, I get it. I'm in the same boat. I'll deal with it in January. Or, well, that's not a good attitude. It'll eventually catch up with them. And probably both are accurate, right? Like you don't want to squash the holiday spirit by worrying about how much you're spending, but by the same token, credit card interest ain't cheap these days, right? And so
I
you want
know.
to
You
kind of,
have to find the balance. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, find the balance, and they're not wrong.
Yeah.
The planner in me, though, I like to have a plan. I like to know that even if we're going to deviate from the plan here and there, at least it's better to have a plan than just winging it.
the saying, if you fail to plan, plan to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Lindsay, let me ask you a question. Have you made your Christmas list? And as importantly, am I on it?
Of course you are, Pete. You're the first one on it. Yeah, I have your gift in the closet right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. But the fact of the matter is that when you start to list out all of the people that are potential recipients of presents, the list can grow really quickly. Up on the screen here is just a short list of some of the most common people we might buy for. Is there anyone you can think of, Lindsay, who's not on the list that you have to buy for this year?
I'm looking for clients. I'm looking to see if clients are on the list.
That can be a dangerous one, right?
Yeah.
My clients listening now are going to hate me because
I
because I
here's the way
haven't.
I think about it, Pete, is I try to give to my clients 365, or like maybe not literally 365, but every opportunity when we're in a session together, like I try to exceed the expectations that they have. And so I try
I
to give
like
to
that.
them all year round. And I think you're going to touch on this, but a simple text and like, hey, I'm thinking about you, like I'm sending my love, my thoughts, like that counts as a gift too, right?
So true. It's so true. And for so many of us, it really is just knowing that folks are on our mind, that we're thinking about them is so much more valuable than a trinket. I know for some of my long-term clients, I think the last thing in the world they want is another tchotchke with the company name on it or
Right.
my name, right? My phone number is already in their phone, so I don't think that they want that. But this time of year, when you are looking at the list of people that you need to buy gifts for, and you're looking at this list, it's important to keep your goals in mind. So, what financial discipline have you already used or do you intend to implement to control spending this year? You know, when it comes to financial discipline, knowing what your why is really important. Why do you have financial discipline? Is it because you're trying to pay off debt? Are you saving for something big like a house, a wedding, a vacation, a new car, a life change? Are you thinking about changing careers or retiring? I mean, when you start to list out the number of reasons of why you have your why, it can really help you prioritize your spending, right? So when you think about why is it, Lindsay, that you don't check a bag, or why is it that you fly Spirit, or why is it that you do subscribe or save? I mean, sure, you could say it's because you're cheap, but I know that it's because you've got bigger plans. You've got bigger goals than just being cheap. So again, know what your why is and write it down. It sounds really cheesy, but I tell people put it on a post-it note and put it on your mirror. So in the morning, as you're brushing your teeth, as you're brushing your hair, you're being reminded of your why, right? Put it on the side of your monitor in the office. So when you're tempted to go on Amazon or click on one of the links from your favorite store and see what's on sale, you've got your little reminder there of why it is that you're sticking to your financial priorities. Maybe set a random alarm to go off during the day to just remind you of what is your why. And then how are you spending your money? Have you taken a look at your personal spending plan? Do you know where all of your take-home dollars are going? I think most of my clients would agree that one of their biggest aha moments in working with me is when they realize where their money is going. And sometimes it's a rude awakening, right? And
Yeah.
it's never anything that you have to share. It can just be sort of your own private exercise, your eyes only. Where's money going? And then once you've done that, how much are you going to spend this season on holiday shopping? So are you going to have a global budget? Or
So
do you
many
need to,
parallels with nutrition here.
isn't it so true? Isn't it so frightening? Are you having flashbacks to our conversation?
Yeah,
So,
keep going, and then I'll add up after you're done with this.
yeah. So how much are you going to spend if we think back to that list of all the different people that we're buying gifts for, are you going to set a budget for how much you're going to buy for the folks in the office? Or if you live in an apartment building like I do and you want to provide for the staff in the building that help make living in that building so comfortable and so easy, how much are you going to give? What about a Secret Santa gift exchange or a white elephant gift exchange? Is that an idea that you could share with your friend group or maybe in the office? And then one of my favorite presents that I get year in, year out from one particular friend is she bakes.
Mhm.
And so she knows now to only give me 6 cookies, because if I get a full dozen, then the portion size becomes 12 cookies. If she only gives me 6, then I'm limited to just those 6 cookies. But they never, the saran wrap comes off the plate, the saran wrap never goes back on the plate. So, and then a friend of mine recently shared with me that she's thinking about grabbing a side hustle because this time of year it's not a very busy season. It's dead. She wants the extra money. She doesn't want to have the credit card debt, so she's thinking about a side hustle. One friend I know drives Uber. Why? Make extra money, saving for another kid, wants to buy a bigger house, and driving for Uber is just so easy. So why not? And it allows him to keep up with all of the other things that he wants to do. And then I also know that some people like the sense of a sacrifice, right? They like knowing that they're giving up something because of a particular bill. And so rather than disrupting their entire plan, they're going to give up something on the financial side to allow that expense to occur.
Some great practical tips you're giving.
Yeah. Yep.
Like even the Secret Santa one, it's such a great idea because rather than buy for everyone in your family, you just come
Hmm.
together and you're like, okay, we're gonna buy for one person in the family, and we're gonna set a limit on how much we're gonna spend for that person. And everyone usually loves it. It makes the holidays like more of the focus on the time spent together versus like having to buy a million gifts for all these different people. Sometimes, like if you have younger children, that's a little bit more difficult to do, but there's ways around things.
Depending on the family, maybe you age out of receiving a gift, right? Or maybe you age out of getting, picking up on your idea, you age out of getting gifts from everyone, and now you start to get the one gift, right? And maybe arguably a more substantial gift or something like that.
Yeah. And so now I'm in Orlando. When I was in Houston, all my clients are still in Houston. And when I was there, I would cook healthy cookies for them. So I would make
Hmm.
healthy holiday treats and I would give them to my clients. Now the distance prevents that from happening, but one day in the near future, when I'm back in
One
Houston,
day.
yeah, yeah, one day in the near future, then that's totally something I would pick back up again. And my family here in Orlando, they definitely get the baked goods that are healthy from me during the holiday time.
Well, they're definitely lucky. You can, when you're back in Houston, I definitely want the
I
healthy
got
cookies.
you. Yes.
And then I'll take a full dozen.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
So, another thing just to weave into the conversation and make sure that everyone remembers about credit card interest, if you're already carrying a balance on a credit card, that interest starts to accrue as soon as you put a new charge on it. If you're one of those people that pay off your credit card at the end of every month, then of course you've got that grace period during which interest does not accrue. So one of the things that you can try to work on now is to get one of those credit cards paid off in full so that you're not accruing interest right off the bat. Another thing that I recommend to clients, and this is a little harder, and I will share with you that when I first started doing this, I was very skeptical about it. But the whole concept of journaling, no matter what the topic is one that I just did not buy into. I'm not going to lie to you. I absolutely did not buy into the idea that simply writing down my thoughts would some way, somehow have an impact on how I was processing them. But you know what? It does. And
Yeah.
so writing down how it makes you feel to have to sacrifice during this time of year, how it makes you feel to be stressed out about the gift giving. What are your thoughts about the gift giving? Do you like Lindsay's idea of the Secret Santa or the topics we've been talking about, aging out? Does all of that make sense to you and resonate with you? And if so, maybe journaling about it will help you pull your thoughts together and maybe figure out if there's a way to introduce that idea among your friend group or your family. If you remember certain things from previous years that may have triggered you and may have gotten you into a point of being borderline irresponsible financially or having a negative impact or cause you to make financial decisions that really now in hindsight maybe weren't the best, maybe journaling about them will help you process them for this year. Remember, there are a ton of really good people that are in the exact same position as you are. So in the absence of good information, they may not realize the strategies that they're employing may not avoid the pitfalls. So can you be a leader in and among your friends to help guide them to making better and smarter decisions? Can you be the one to introduce these good ideas to the ones that you love and care about?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes we don't do certain things for the sake of peer pressure, but at the same time, who's to say that if you break beyond what the peers might expect, that it wouldn't lead a better outcome, right?
Isn't
Like
that so true?
actually admiring, like, oh, hey, that's a great idea, and maybe we should all do that so we can all be a little bit more financially healthy.
It's so
Like
true.
rather than, going out to dinner. I mean, maybe this example is not the best one, but I'll throw it out there. Like, you all go out to dinner every week or so every so often, and maybe you decide to do dinners at home where like you take turns cooking for each other and you can save a lot of money potentially that way. I would say you could save a lot of money, especially with the prices when we go out to eat these days. But yeah, just little things like that.
And it's so much more comfortable,
Yeah,
right? And if the service is bad, you can just rib your friend.
exactly. Just don't leave your friend a tip.
That's right. That's right. So, Lindsey, that's the end of my prepared remarks for the day. What were some of the ideas that sort of caught your attention, that maybe resonated with you and sort of made it feel like you could have a less stressful holiday season?
Yeah, well, I think we touched on this a little bit more in depth, maybe off camera, but when you shared the concept that it's really the thought that counts, and the fancier the gift isn't going to leave your friends with any better of an impression than like the thought and the intention that went into it. Because sometimes we think that, oh, if I buy someone like a really expensive, nice gift, they're gonna get more warm and fuzzy feelings and they're gonna realize I value them more. But it's often more of the intention and the fact that you remembered them that really resonates with people the most. That's something that when we were just preparing for this talk and this presentation, I really let that sink in, and I was like, that's so true. Like we don't think about that. And then one other thing, and I'll let you comment as well, just in the parallels of nutrition and financial planning, when you said, okay, where is this person's money going? And I forced them to like track it, and we break it down and analyze in the session that we did together where you were helping me with my finances. And I was seeing where my money was going. That's so helpful. And the same thing when I make someone food track. It's like they don't realize that they're getting 70% of their calories from fat or from carbs or whatever like they're not getting enough protein or they're not getting enough fiber, which are the two most common things I see with people. And then we make those tweaks, and those are like foundational shifts for people. But you can't begin to move the needle unless you're tracking to see where you're at. And then you assess and say, okay, now how do I need to shift to get to the goals that I want to do? And it sounds so cheesy and corny, but that's why having a financial planner or a nutritionist or, someone to help you coach you with your health, they make you do these things that you wouldn't otherwise do, and then you have progress. So those are my thoughts as you were sharing your talk.
It it's so true. And one of the things that really has helped me in my fitness journey is recognizing that food is fuel,
Hmm.
right? So you can put fuel in your car, and let's just assume that this is a gasoline engine car, but I would imagine that it applies to an electric car as well. You can fill up your gas tank or fill up your battery charge, I guess, at any point in time. But if you're running on empty, you know that at some point in time, you're just going to run out of gas. Going to the gym and trying to work out on an empty tank, you can get just so far. And I think you made this analogy with me a couple of days ago, that if you at least give your body a little bit of fuel, like a pre-workout,
Hmm.
you're able to actually get through your workout, maybe build a little bit more muscle, maybe do a little bit better. Well, you know what? In financial planning, it's no different. When you have time on your side, it's amazing what you can do. And when you start to find all of these parallels, not only in just what the two of us do for a living, but when our clients start to see the roles that this plays, right? It can really, they have their aha moment, and
Yeah.
that's when things really start to take off. That's when the rubber hits the road. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very well said. Very well said. Should I dive in?
dive in. I'm
All right.
excited.
I am too. And I told you before we started, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really script out what I was going to say too much. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow here. Okay. Did I put the picture in an appropriate spot so you can still see the
Yes,
slide? Maybe if I do like
yes.
that might be best. Okay. So the theme that I wanted to focus on, Pete, and like I mentioned, just jump in. If you have a comment, by all means, just jump in and share it with a group. But I know my clients always tell me this time of year, it never fails, that they just struggle with the cravings. Like the cravings get so intense and then it derails them from their plan. So I have three holiday hacks to curb your cravings that I use myself. And I wanted to start with a story. And this is, I will call her my good friend and my good client. And man, she's been with me for at least 2 years. It's probably been 3 years now. And this is her on the left when she first started with me. And her today, actually, this was maybe a month ago. She just changes so rapidly. I bet, yeah, she's already down like another 5 pounds from the time since this picture was taken. She's just like changing before my eyes. And it's really cool to see. But the reason I wanted to highlight her story is because there's no perfect time. The holiday seems like such a terrible time to like focus on health. It's like this is like the worst time to focus on it, right? But I promise you, when Catherine decided to make this change, there it was far from a perfect time. She had very bad back pain from a car accident. She owned a bar, and she was drinking a lot, and so she, like her environment was not conducive to health. And her situation of, the car accident and the back pain. I mean, to this day, we don't do leg workouts together. We focus on like cardio and upper body because that's what her body can handle. And so it's like there's never going to be a perfect time. And I love Catherine to death. She's taught me so much, honestly. Like I'm so grateful for her. Because if she doesn't have a perfect day, she doesn't let that, derail her. She just picks right back up. Obviously, she's put in a ton of hard work to get to where she is, and I give her so much credit. But, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think a story can be worth a million words. So,
Look at those guns. Those
yeah,
guns are right.
yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
She's great. And I featured her story in my documentary that I shot. I flew back to Houston earlier this year to shoot this documentary featuring her story and a couple of my other clients that just have amazing stories to tell. So if you want to hear Catherine's full story, it's in my documentary, which, oh, actually, you can find it on my website. Okay, now let's get into the first tip. So my first tip is apple cider vinegar. And anyone that knows me knows that all my tips are derived from research. I am a huge research nerd because I get so agitated when people are just spewing nonsense that I'm like, where are you getting that from? And it's like, it's gotten passed down from one Instagram reel to the next, and it was not ever founded in anything factual. So I can't actually, okay, nope. So I was going to say I cited everything within the slides, but at the end, all of this came from research, and I have my citations at the end where I got all this from. So this is all from peer-reviewed research. So the research findings show that apple cider vinegar can indeed stabilize your blood sugar, reduce hunger, and improve digestion. And I have some props here with me. So I was going to make, maybe we can chit chat a little bit here, Pete, as I make
Yeah.
this drink. So apple cider vinegar, and this is an organic with the mother. So that's the one I prefer. And it's just about 1 to 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in here. All right, that's probably a little more than 2 tablespoons, but hey now. And what I like to do, and you can get this recipe on my website, NutriDayFitness.com, which is spelled on the screen. Got my spoon for the stirring. Cinnamon. I like to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon in here. All right, make sure you open the right side with the holes rather than the free form pour. Oh, that's a lot
I
of cinnamon.
found out the hard way that there is such a thing as too much cinnamon.
Yeah, well, you know what though? Yes, there is. Like you can like yeah, it can be a lot. What is that, the cinnamon challenge, right?
No, no, it was just an accident. I opened the wrong side of the bottle.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, cinnamon challenge I don't think usually works out too well for people. But then I add a little bit of stevia. So of all the sweeteners, stevia and monk fruit would be the ones I would recommend. That's a whole other topic of conversation. Everyone likes to debate about the sweeteners, but a little bit of stevia is usually my choice. So throw some stevia in there. And I don't have salt up here, but if I did, I might add a pinch of salt and then mix this all up. And it tastes like an apple cider drink. And then that stevia helps to sweeten the bitterness of the apple cider. And cinnamon is also another blood sugar lowering agent. So a lot of times, like, someone is diabetic or just has poor blood sugar control, I'll encourage them to throw cinnamon in their smoothies. It can help to regulate their blood sugar in that meal. Let's see how I did. Ooh, it's good. By the way, I had water in here to start. So I had a little less than a cup of water.
Okay.
Pete, you're missing
So,
out.
oh man, I wish you were right here. I wish we were doing this together so I could taste it.
I know. We're separated. We're across the country. So anyway, this is a great drink, and I would recommend that you make this right before you're about to sit down for your holiday meal. Because if our hunger hormones are signaling properly, we will walk away from that meal feeling good, feeling, oh man, we just got nourished from that food, not feeling like sluggish. And this isn't anything that I wrote in here, but that's my personal motivation. And what I share with my clients is think about how you'll feel after. Like, you might feel good for 1 minute if you're eating that slice of apple pie, but then for 2, 3 hours, maybe a full day after, you're feeling bad. And so I always weigh, okay, how can I leave the table feeling better than when I sat down? So that's something that really helps me. Okay, tip number 2, ginger. I have some here as well. Ginger has so much research on the many, many health benefits of it, from reducing hunger, curbing overeating, improving fat burning. A lot of times people use ginger if they're feeling nauseous. Like, there's a lot of research showing the health benefits of ginger. There's so many phytochemicals and health compounds in here. When we talk about like healing nutrients and foods and polyphenols, those are a whole separate class other than vitamins and minerals that heal the body that I think are so underappreciated. People will take their multivitamins, but the multivitamin can never give you all the polyphenols in the matrix that it's delivered in food in its whole food form. So I actually, I no longer take multivitamins. I just eat a lot of real food and get a variety. So that's another little side note there. But the research shows that 2 grams of ginger per day can yield a 3.35 pound weight loss in 8 weeks. Think about that. That's pretty substantial. I mean, in the research, like, we don't usually find like a food that can substantially like lower weight in that kind of a way. So 2 grams is about like a 1 inch chunk. So like if I was to break this off and then shave the skin off and then just, chow it down, add it to a smoothie, add it to a dish, however you want to do it. And
And the takeaway is this is 3 pounds over and above everything else that you're doing through diet and exercise, right? So
I,
for virtually the same amount of effort, you're picking up an incremental 3 pounds. And for those who are financially minded, and those of my clients who are listening to this, they know exactly where I'm going with this thought process, right?
yeah. And something I wanted to point out about this, I specified this is a meta-analysis. So if someone's not familiar with how research works, there's a bunch of randomized control trials, which are considered, a gold standard in science. So you look for randomized control trials, these individual studies, but then a meta-analysis will go through what is the totality of research that's been done on this topic, and let's use math to determine, is this statistically significant and what kind of numbers can we prescribe to the result that we're interested in here. So a meta-analysis has looked at a ton of research on ginger and weight loss. Like, I can't say they include every study because they have their inclusion criteria. So, they're not going to include every study, but they'll try to discard. The inclusion criteria is for the purpose of discarding studies that they don't feel are of high quality. That's typically what it is. But then again, I'll get off on a topic here. Sometimes you got to look at their inclusion and exclusion criteria because there can be biases within that. It gets
For sure.
complicated, Pete. But anyway, let's keep it simple here. So my final tip is something that I see people make a mistake on a lot. Is they'll say, "Oh, I have a big holiday party coming up. Let me save all my calories. Let me not eat all day
Hmm.
so I can just go to this and I can have at it." Um, some people that works for. So if that's you and if it works for you, by all means, do it. I will tell you the majority of the people that I work with, it does not work for. And since we've shifted it and gotten them to eat more protein and fiber-based meals earlier in the day, like not a crazy amount, but a little bit, it helps tremendously for many reasons. But I wanted to highlight a couple things here. So back a few years ago, remember when Ozempic was getting all the rage, Pete? I feel like that was like maybe a couple years ago. I don't know when you first started hearing all your friends talk about it. When would you say you started hearing it?
I
Like,
feel like I feel like 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah. And I would say even like I was probably privy to it a little bit earlier
Hmm.
than the average person because this is the line of work I do. But I would say even over the last 6 months, it's like I mean, all of the commercials on TV, everyone's talking about it.
Sure.
So I would love to run this experiment. I don't think, no, it hasn't been done. So I have a theory that if everyone, and now at this point we can't do it because it's in retrospect, but if before going on Ozempic, everyone was like, you know what? You can go on Ozempic if you will give me 3 months, maybe even 2 months of eating 40 grams of fiber per day. Why do I say that? Because fiber, when I was learning about the biochemistry of what is Ozempic doing, like what's going on here, when I was learning about biochemically what is Ozempic doing, it's doing almost, I can't say the exact same things fiber is doing, but it's doing very, very similar things to what fiber does. So I'm highlighting a couple things. So DF is dietary fiber. It reduces the glycemic response. So basically, it helps to maintain blood sugar. And the reason that's important is because these big swings in blood sugar, when you get a blood sugar crash, you get extremely hungry, you get
Hmm.
irritable, you get headaches. It's different in everyone, but these are some of the responses. And poor blood sugar control is associated with weight gain and obesity and all kinds of chronic diseases. But look at that second part there. Fiber stimulates gastrointestinal motility and the release of GLP-1 and PYY hormones. So we've heard Ozempic is a GLP-1 agonist. Fiber also stimulates the release of that. Now, granted, fiber is going to do it to a lesser role than Ozempic, but I would argue that's a good thing because when we get this unnatural like influx of anything in the body, it comes with its negative consequences. And there's some huge negative consequences that do come with Ozempic as it relates to disrupting your gastrointestinal health, which I think down the road we'll start to discover the negatives of that maybe a little bit more than what we initially thought. Now, just to be perfectly clear, if anyone is on Ozempic, I've seen cases where I do believe the pros are outweighing the cons for
For
people.
sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to be, I don't think like I'm not here to like say, oh, like you're on Ozempic, that's terrible. No, no, no. Like I do think that there's cases where the pros outweigh the cons, but what I would encourage everyone is I have a client that I gave this analogy to, and I kind of like it. So I told her, I was like, look, you got great benefits out of this. Let's see if you can work with your doctor to taper you off of it before the cons outweigh the pros. I was like,
Hmm.
think about it like a relationship that you don't care about, right? Get what you can out of the person and then leave them and move on. Now, I don't do that. Just so people are clear, I don't do
But
that.
there may be some who can relate.
But there's people, we all know people that do that, right? It's like, okay, let's get what we can out of this person and go. This is a terrible way to live, but there's people that do that. And that's what I think you should do to Ozempic. Okay, moving on. So how will fiber help? So fiber curbs our cravings. As I said, the release of GLP-1 and the slowing of the absorption, both of those things combined give us better insulin regulation and better blood sugar control. Why did I put an asterisk there? There was a reason I put that. It was okay, that's why I put it. I wanted to remember to tell you all that having better blood sugar control basically will avoid, which I already said, can avoid headaches, can avoid terrible cravings, can avoid irritability, anxiousness. Those crashes are associated with all those things. So we'll hammer that point home. And then long term, so those are more of like, short term, yeah, you get curbed cravings. But what do you get long term from high fiber intake? Fiber directly lowers cholesterol. It basically binds to cholesterol in your GI tract and you poop it out rather than getting it absorbed in your system. Fiber improves your digestion because it feeds the good gut bacteria. And it's not accurate to say fiber directly burns fat, but indirectly it leads to fat burning and it reduces inflammation in an amazing way. So, how will protein help? A lot of similar reasons. It does curb cravings, it stabilizes your blood sugar. It also stimulates GLP-1 and the PYY hormones, which keep you full and satiated longer. Protein directly boosts your metabolism. It increases, eating protein basically has a thermogenic effect in the body. Your body has to work harder to break it down. So for every 100 calories of chicken you eat, your body might burn like 20 calories in the process, versus if you had like 100 calories of olive oil or sugar, your body would only burn like 1 to 5 calories in the process. So you extract fewer calories from the same amount of food when you look at protein versus carbs and fat. And then long term, you have preserved muscle mass, and muscle tissue is so energetically expensive that the more muscle you have, the more your body is just burning when you're sitting and doing nothing. People are often amazed at how much I eat. I do have a little bit more muscle mass than the average person or the average female, and I attribute a lot of my faster metabolism to that. Um, and same with my clients, like as they have added more muscle, they have been able to eat more and still lose weight, which is really cool. And something that's really underrated is protein is hugely important for our immune health and for our mental health. It's literally the building blocks of immune cells in our body and of neurotransmitters and hormones, so brain chemicals and then hormones that we need to thrive and feel good. Here are all my references. If anything caught your attention and what I said, if you want to fact check me, I encourage it. But yeah, there's the references, and then I'll put this up at the end. I mean, we are at the end, but I'll make sure I put back up here in just a second. I'll stop my share for now and put this back up so if you wanted to get in touch with either of us, you could. But Pete, do you want to close things out here, and then I can put the information, the contact information back up.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so important to take away from sort of both sides of this presentation is that the next few weeks are stressful for most people, for all of the reasons that we talked about, whether financial, whether nutrition wise. And hopefully, what everyone got out of today's discussion were just a few ideas to help get through the next few weeks, maybe to start the thought process of how to develop the next chapter in their journey, whether it's the nutrition journey, whether it's the financial wellness journey, whatever it is a journey and it is so important. I know that I've never spoken with anyone about either of these topics where they haven't said comments along the way of, gosh, I wish I knew this sooner. I wish I had started sooner. I wish someone had told me. Why don't they teach this in high school? Why don't they teach this in middle school? Why don't they teach this in college? But the fact is that now folks, perhaps thanks to all the misinformation on the internet, right? Folks are digging a little deeper. They are trying to get fact-based, science-based, math-based information to help structure their own journey. I know as we've mapped out future podcast topics, we're going to be continuing down this path of how financial wellness and physical wellness are intertwined. But it is so obvious once you see how they are connected and the impact through one's life of how these two things really go hand in hand. So I'm really excited to be bringing all this information to your clients and to my clients because I know how much both will benefit from the information we want to share.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that there will be more episodes because we have more topics that we did not get to today that
Sure.
we weren't planning on getting to today. This was nuts.
Mhm.
But we would like to share because we do think that it can make a big difference in people's lives. And I know we both derive joy from being able to add value to people's lives.
So
So
true.
I can share our contact information unless
Let's
you
do
have
it.
anything else you wanted
Nope.
to share. Oh, you know what? It's not gonna it's not gonna look super pretty, probably. Yep, I knew it was gonna
Oh,
do that.
well.
Oh man, I X'd out of it. Hold on. Let me stop my share. Yeah, my desktop is a mess. There it is. Okay. I'm gonna take two. Take two. I got this. So share. Now you should be able to see full screen.
There we
All
go.
right, there we go. So if you would like to get in touch with me, there's my email address, lindseyday@nutridayfitness.com, my website, nutridayfitness.com, and on Instagram, lindseyDayFitness. And Pete, you want
Yep.
to
My
share?
information is there on the left-hand side, my email, the address, the phone number to our office, and our website. So y'all are welcome to contact me through any of those spots.
Awesome. This was fun, Pete. Thanks so
This
much.
was.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
try
thank you for
this.
inviting me to join you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do our next one within the next month and keep the
Yeah,
information coming.
there we
Cheers.
go. Cheers.